Alright, what you're looking at is a HP laptop, and the model number is 15-AB277CL. I'm making this video because when I looked online, there were none to open up and do anything with this computer, with this laptop, so I figured if I figured out everything, I would make it easier for everybody else. That being said, I'm an amateur, so I'm in no way responsible for anything that you may accidentally do to your computer while taking advice from this video. Just FYI, right off the bat, you need to know that. I don't do this for a living. That being said, I had two laptops that are exactly alike, so I figured out all the bumps in the road on this process on the first one. So hopefully the second one's going to go a lot easier and faster for your viewing pleasure. Let's put it that way. All right. So first things first, what you're going to need, you're going to need a blade of some type with a real sharp edge. For just one little thing to do on this. Then you're going to need a good set of jeweler's screwdrivers. Specifically, for this one is called, this head for that jeweler's screwdriver is called in this set a PH000. It's a real small one, and that's for just a few of the screws. And then you got basically, just a standard small Phillips for all the others. So first things first, and then you're going to need some type of a credit card or plastic separating device. I use a credit card. I learned that from a different video. I'm going to show you how to do, basically open up the laptop, and then also upgrade the memory. This computer comes with 12 gigs of RAM. But you can upgrade the memory. I think it was about $45 roughly more for the memory upgrade, the part. And then I'm also going to, while I'm in there, upgrade the, I think it's, it's a 1 terabyte hard drive in there right now, but I'm going to upgrade it to an SSD. And then down the road, which may be another video, I'm not sure, or maybe I'll put it on this one, I'm going to turn that hard drive that's in here into a backup, and I'm going to put it into the backup into the optical drive. Now, like I said, if you choose to do this, please don't call me, ask me for, advice and whatnot, because I'm not a professional, and I'm really just sort of doing this as a public service. I may post some tips in the comments section of the video. So you might want to check there if you need some guidance. All right, so we're going to open this thing up. Let's pretend like that battery's in there. So the first thing you do is you take the battery out. You unplug the power. Right? Keep the power cord handy, though, because you're going to need it later. Flip it over. What I always do is I push on this a couple times to make sure there's no power in it. Right? Then we flip it back over, and first things first, I've already pre-done it, and I just sort of stuck them back on there for the video, but there's these two, I'll take this off to show the camera. These two screw holes here are hidden because I guess they don't want you to be able to work on your own stuff, but that's what comes out of the screw holes. That's what basically the only thing this blade is for, is you get right down in there, right on the edge of this screw hole cover, and pop it off. So, like I said, I've already done it, pre-done it, and just sort of put it back on for the video's sake. So you take those off, put those over here right quick. Alright, so that's the first thing you do. Not the first thing, that's one of the things you do. And next, I'm going to take out the optical drive. You do that, and it's a lot easier if you magnetize your screwdriver, by the way. There's a lot of little screws involved here, so we get to take one out. And it's the one with the little symbol next to it that's like it's got a little O. Sort of a little O. But basically, almost none of the other screws on this thing have that symbol. It's that screw. If you have the exact same computer, it's that screw. Just line, take a look. And so then you pop this out. Don't force it. It should just come straight out. I'm going to put that to the side, I guess over here. Then you start taking screws out. First things first, where I'm going to take my first screws out are right here, because these are the only screws in this whole configuration that are longer, different screws, basically. Two different screws are on these back legs right here. So, and these are a little tricky to get off. But I can say this, if you ever work on computers or anything like this stuff, don't ever force anything. Don't ever force anything. All you can do is really just sort of jigger, just sort of move the stuff around a little bit here and pop it out. I don't know what the trick is to that, other than just, moving it around a little bit till it pops out. I'm keeping that screw with that because I know it's a different type of screw. The longer one. Same thing over here. Longer screw. Same issue. You got to sort of mess around with it. Get an edge under. Get your fingernail under somewhere around here. There you go. Maybe there. You know what? Maybe I'll try my card on this. I think I tried it the first time, but I don't think I tried to do this the first time, but maybe it'll work this time. No. Again, do not force anything. It only ends up with broken parts, usually. Just sort of mess around, I guess. There ain't no. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm lifting the back of this up. Maybe that'll be it. Okay, so I've got it on the inside edge here. I pulled it up with that edge right there, okay? Then I got an edge right here. So now I'm going to take this plastic thing. Maybe that'll help me out. I don't know. There you go. All right. So that's off. Again, I'm keeping the screw with that because those are the different ones. Everything else, except for these two screws right here, all the other ones are the same. We got the back two. The two we just took off are different. So why don't we take off the two that are, the other two that are, that are different. You got to put on the super small, the smallest Phillips head you can find, pretty much. This, like I said, this is a PH000 is what they call this one. And be gentle because these are real small, strange-looking screws. I'll hold it up to the camera so you can get an idea. See what I mean? Real small, strange looking. So I'm going to put those over here in their own little spot. And remember where they came from, right out from on top of the drive bay. So putting those over there. Now we're going to go back to our other head on our screwdriver. I'm going to go back, and I guess I'm going to start, right now I'm going to start back in the battery compartment. So you can see right now the battery compartment, if you, well, to the right of the battery compartment, there's a screw right here. And to the left of the battery compartment, there's a screw right here. They're all marked on the case. It's real nice in this scenario. They're all the same size up till now, so just keep them in a pile. Now we're inside the battery compartment now. There's 4 inside the battery compartment. All right. We also want to make sure that this is super important for later on, because it slowed me down for about a half hour the first time. Make sure this one that has the icon with the locked icon and the unlocked icon. We want to make sure that says it's locked here, because it frees up this part right here to slide out later on. I'll refer to it again at the time, but just so you know. All right. So now I'm going to go around the edges. After you do that, is I would just look at all the holes real good. Make sure you've got all the screws out of all the holes, because it's got to be able to loosen up, pop out of there. Remember what I said about this. This over here, this has to be over near in this area, because it won't pop out if you've got it. Well, I may update that at a later time, but so check when I'm popping it out. I'm going to see if that's the case on this. If it doesn't come out easily, long story short, you need to have this one way or the other for it to come out easily. If it's not coming out easily from this end of the computer, the top, then you need to start messing with the switch right here, because that's the key. Right, so next thing we do is take this thing off. How do you do that? Well, the way I did it, I slid a little card in here, pull the edge down. Don't use anything that's not like non-scratching, because you try to use a screwdriver or whatever and you're probably going to mess up your stuff pretty bad. Be gentle. That's all you got to separate it on these. This side is just that little bit. I go around the edges. These just pop apart. They just pop out. But you got to have those screws out of there, or you ain't probably going to get nowhere. Alright, so notice how that edge is under there. Nice and neat. That's the way it needs to end up when you're done. Well, if you have any problems getting it up, you just go back to the card. Card is the key on this thing. Okay, so my first one I didn't have this problem, but these little ports on this side over here got stuck a little bit. So you need to be wary when you're pulling that out. Don't again, key is don't force anything, because if you start forcing things, stuff starts breaking. Like I said, my first time go around, I didn't have that issue. So now this is where that lock part that I was talking about gets interesting. I think I had it like this last time, which shows the lock symbol, but we're gonna try to go forward showing this lock symbol. That's subject to change. We'll see here. See, so I'm getting my card here. Not having this much problem. Oh, I remember. I did this, I think, last time. It pushes down a little bit. There you go. That's how I got it started last time. Push that down. Creates a little crack that you can get this in. And I can tell you, I'm fairly certain that I had this thing done the other way then, because it's not coming out. So we're going to try moving this little thing over to the unlock position and see if that makes a difference in getting this thing out of here. Oh. I'm definitely not having an easy time on this. Now, and while you're doing this, the hard drive tends to move around a little bit, FYI, which I do not like, but this is just part of the deal. Hard drive's right up in this area, by the way. So this thing, there you go, I think, hope. Alright, so we made some progress here. Hold on. I'm not sure if I... Again, go back to this thing right here. So that's where it's going to mess you up if you pull it out and break something. So it's not coming apart. So I've got, I guarantee you it's back here somewhere. There you go. I don't know, maybe that didn't have anything to do with it, that switch, but anyways, it's off now. So that's the back of the unit. This is the guts. This is what we're going to be messing with. And during that whole process, these came off the hard drive. So I'm going to put them back on just so we have a good starting point when we get to the hard drive part. The only thing I don't like about this thing is this container they've got for the hard drive, because it just does not keep it in place during this process. Okay, so these should fit in that slot snug, generally snug. Alright, so, and there are little notches on the ends over here of the rubber, so you can only supposedly only go in one way. Anyways, alright, so we've got it open. Now we're going to upgrade the memory. This memory is particular memory. I will make note of in the comments section, I guess, below the video. We got it from a company called Crucial. If I remember, I'm going to put a comment below the video. Anyways, what you want to do is, this is the 8 gigs of RAM. This is the 4 gig section of the RAM. So, be very gentle. Don't touch anything except for these 2 clips right here. That and that. I already undid one. And then it's going to startle you probably. See, it pops up. So, here's the new part. Always hold by the edges. Especially with computer devices. Oh, had it upside down. There's a slot right there, so there's only one way these things can go into, so you pop that in. Make sure it's seated real well. Push a little bit on, put a little pressure on it on both sides. It's seated in and it should click straight down. And those 2 little nodules, there's a little place in the side of it for them to click into. So, and that should click right into the side of the board. So it's seated well, but we're going to check it before we do anything else. So in order to check this, I'm going to put this back down here. That's what I do. Gently, and try to keep the hard drive in place when you flip it back over. Put it gingerly back on here. Open it up a little bit. And you take the power cord. Being careful to not touch any of the underside parts. And there's a receptacle. Don't do it through the plastic. There's no point in that. But there's a receptacle Of course, the hard drive's coming off again. Because that's the way it is with this design. So we've got it generally put this into the board. There's a hole on the inside. You don't have to go through the plastic. There's just put it straight into what it would go into anyways. And we're going to start it back up. Alright, so we have the memory in now. Basically, we're just going to confirm it. This is a Windows 10. So I'm going to show you how to do it on Windows 10. You go down to the little window thing right here. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not going to let the computer up because it'll be tedious. You go up to Settings. You hit Systems, the System, and then you go to About. And then right here, you're going to see 16 gigabytes if everything was done correctly. So now you know you got your RAM done correctly. So we close that out. And then we go to oh yeah, next step is clone the hard drive. So now we've got the memory in. Keep the power cord on because you don't have a battery now. Now we take our, so that's the hard drive basically, the new SSD hard drive, solid state, which allows you to have a lot more speed. I'm going to hook it up right here with the cable that I told you were going to need. This is a SATA 2.5, but they make a 3.0, which means it would move a lot faster, especially on this computer because it has the 3.0 super speed, or whatever you want to call it. So we plug that in. Make sure you do it in the right port because they've got, even though they have a couple different USB ports, some of them are super speed and some of them aren't. So just be cognizant of that. Alright, so that's plugged in. So what we do next is clone. So I'm opening up the cloning software. So what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to hang up. I'm going to have to put you on pause, I guess. I'm going to have to call the SSD company because if I remember right, the first time they had to have me format this SSD. So if you get to this point, you don't have you should have basically a source drive and a target drive. So in other words, where you're copying from and where you're copying to. Where I'm copying from is a computer and to is a source drive. Problem is it's not recognizing the source drive. And like I said, I think that means I need to call the SSD company and have them walk me through the formatting it so it can recognize it. So I'm going to put you on pause. I'll be back. Alright, so had to call the disk manufacturer to initialize. You have to initialize your disks, and I don't want to get into that because I don't really fully understand any of that. So I'd recommend if you have a disk that you're trying to install and clone, you call the company that sold it to you and have them help you do whatever you need to have, whatever you need to in order for your computer to see it. But I think they call it initializing it, and they should walk you through it. Anyways, I don't know if you can see the screen or not, but now I've got the software open, and I've got the hard disk up here, which is what is currently in the computer, and that's going to be my source disk. So I hit source, so that's where it's copying it from, and then I hit my other disk, which I just that's where it's cloning it from. And then my other disk, which I just initialized, and then I hit next. And then I hit so it's telling me that the data on the destination disk will be lost. It's the destination. So I think that what that means is, since this is initialized, it's got blank space. I mean, you know, if you had a bunch of data on it, that would mean you'd have a concern, but this is a blank disk over here. So, you know, I don't have any concern with anything being lost on it, so I'm going to hit OK. Now it's initializing the clone. So I'm going to put this on pause because it's probably going to take, I don't know, an hour or so. And all it's doing is making an exact duplicate of the normal hard drive on the computer, and it's putting it over here on the SSD. That's all that's happening right now. So I'll talk to you in a minute or so. Well, in a while, whenever that cloning process is done. Alright, so the cloning process took an hour, but there really was nothing on the disk. It's a brand new computer, so time is gonna vary, and it's gonna take, it could take a real long time. So FYI, cloning is something probably is good if you're gonna if you would start it, if you have any sort of stuff on your disk whatsoever that you're going to be cloning over as far as a lot of data, a good idea would be to start it at night before you go to bed and just hit the hay. Hopefully it'll be done when you wake up in the morning. Anyways, this says I'm done, so I'm going to click finish. And I'm going to close out of the program. And I'm going to eject probably. I think I'm probably gonna go into here, Files, Explorer, and I'll probably eject. That is what I'm thinking. Right click on this. No, I can't figure out. It's not giving me an option to eject. I did not eject it the first time I did it. So we'll just close out of here. Shut down the power. Shut down the computer. Watching the power button over here to make sure the power turns off. Hard drive's closing down for the last time, at least as the main hard drive. Unplug the power, important. Unplug the power because it's now off. Unplug the power. Hit the power button again, just to make it a couple times. Make sure it's not on at all. Now what I do is I take out, this is now going to become the hard drive. You take it out of the side of the computer, take it off this little cable, save the cable in case you want to do it with any of your other computers later on. Or then we open this back up again, back to our old familiar friend that's been sort of flopping around while we're doing this stuff. hard drive. Put that up there. This is the hard drive. These two were mounted to the side of it. And they've come off. Like I said, it's my pet peeve about this thing. I'll mount them just to so we can walk through it from the beginning with you, I guess. So this is what it should have looked like when I pulled up the lid. Should have been mounted in there just like that. Just pressure holding it on. It's such a sort of a tight fit in there that really, anyways. All right, so we're going to replace the hard drive now. So we take out the old hard drive. It's pretty simple. It really isn't rocket science. Take off the two retainers. Something like that. I don't know. I always hold everything by the sides. Now we take this clip off right here. Basically, just slide that out. That's your old hard drive. I always put it back in the plastic that the new hard drive came in. Like I said, I'm probably going to be using these in the... I'm going to probably remount them in the optical port and use them as extra storage. Just focus on this baby for sheer speed. Anyways, we just put it back in. It's a no-brainer. Well, it's not a no-brainer, but you want to make sure that you get the form factor correct. This can only go on one way. There's a little notch in the middle of it. So do not force anything. Number one key. Repeat after me. Do not force anything. Now, what I did on my other computer is they give you a, for some reason, this thing mounts a little differently than the original hard drive. But anyways, this particular kit comes with a spacer, which I would suggest you use. Comes with a spacer like this. If you don't have anything rattling around, since this thing's so small, put the spacer back here. And put that up like that. And we put it right back in where it came from. Now what I'm going to do is, so that goes right back where it came from, before I lock everything down, I'm going to take this out of the way. Roll this around. I'm going to replug the power back in, just so you can see here. It should launch up just like any old normal computer, but it might take just a little bit longer, but it should, in the end, it's going to be super fast because you're going to an SSD. So anyways, I'm plugging the power into what was the power receptacle over here. Don't touch anything as you do this. Any exposed circuitry, don't touch anything. You touch plastic edges, but do not touch any of the circuitry. Then you just relaunch it. To make sure the hard drive does what it's supposed to do. If you notice, it's coming up a lot faster. It's totally launched. So I'm going to once again enter my passwords. But that's it. It's launched. It's functioning. Make sure it just works the way it's supposed to. Everything's launching. It's going to be a lot faster. Everything's going to move a lot more in a lot more liquid manner now. Should. Not sure. I don't know if I launched that or not. There you go. So the system works. The cloning, knock on wood, appears to have functioned perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut this baby down again. And put everything back together. So we'll go shut, power, shut down. Let it shut down. Check to make sure the power button's turned off. It's gone off. Appears as though it has. Take the power cord out of the side. Take it out of the side. Hit the power button a couple times like we did before. Then pull this over here and basically everything goes in reverse, hopefully without a hitch, putting it back together. So what we do is put this back in there. Put that baby back in there. Right now I'm going to start, and I'm going to start it with the locked. And it says locked position, so if I have problems I may revert to something else, but I think that's how we're supposed to be doing it. If I remember right, this is sort of the trickiest part, getting this thing to sort of line up under this plastic the way it did. We had it set up to begin with before we took it apart. So it appears to be set up underneath that plastic. Of course, my hard drive's falling out again. So if it falls out, you just gotta basically put it back where it came from. Keep an eye on it the whole time because it does tend to move just a little bit. Sorry about that. Sorry about jarring your maybe we're gonna start. Maybe we're gonna try to do it like this. That way we have a little bit better control over the back there. It's not supposed to be sticking out at all. This lip is supposed to be pretty flush on top. It's flush right there. Like I think that's the way it is, but we'll see. Before I had to put it together a few different times. This thing to actually go well. that's correct. This apparently goes on. There. I think. Alright, so I've got that. I've got this. So I think that's probably the best way to start. Just start with the screen. Probably the best way to start is start with the screen flat down on the ground. Sorry, on the work surface. And then, I hope that was the best way to start. I'm going to find out here. Okay, so, well, that's going together, but it's not really flush around here. So I've got it flush over here. Well, I don't know. Okay, so that's what you do. You just pop it down. I hope that's what you do. So as we pop the rest of the stuff together, I think everything's going to come back in line. So I think, I'm probably being a little bit, what's the word for it? Probably a little, I didn't do this first time, but I think I'm going to do it now. I'm going to hook it up because it's going to launch real fast anyways. Just make sure everything seems to be copacetic even though it's not screwed down yet. So I just hit the button. You'll see how quick it's going to launch. I'm launched now. Enter my passwords. Totally launched on my new SSD. Alright, so again, power, shut down. It'll shut down a lot faster too, you'll notice. Okay, so we're waiting for that light to go out. So we undo the power, hit the power button a couple times. Just make sure. Flip it over. Close the lid. Then start screwing in screws. I think I'm going to check real quick to make sure they're all good and matched up first. Might as well do that first. Then I'm going to start with the batteries. I'm basically going to do it exactly the way I undid it. So we're going to do the two at each side of the battery compartment. Then as I'm tightening them down, I'll get these two done. I will do it a little bit differently. I'll do the edges first. Actually, I think I'm gonna do his feet first. If I remember right, they weren't all that easy to get perfectly matched up. So the feet have a few tabs and stuff in them. You got to make sure that it's seated really well, and they've also got indentations and stuff. This has got an outcropping and a little place for the outcropping to go in the frame. So you got to make sure it fits in really good, tight and snug. Try to make sure every little indentation goes where it's supposed to go on this thing, because these are usually, in case you didn't know, at the edges of a notebook are almost always where failure occurs. And all I can say, there you go. Now it's in there. I'm not sure exactly what I did, but it fits perfectly now. So if you're putting these edges in and there's something that just doesn't seem like it's smooth, form-fitting, it probably isn't. And you just need to mess around with it till it's perfect match on the body of the computer. Take some time and some patience. See, that's not right. It's not. You get about 8/10 of it to fit perfect, but there's just always one little thing that just seems out of place, and if it does seem out of place, it is on these things. Like I said, there's little notches that have to fit, little indentations that perfectly fit together once they're together, and I think I just did it. You'll know it when you do it. You'll know it. You won't have to be like trying to make it feel like it fits good. It'll fit perfect. Alright, so that's perfect right now. Don't want to over tighten them. Just when you start stripping stuff. Alright, so I put one in here before when I was going to go around the edges. The point I was going to make about going around the edges is try to do it when you do one on one side of the computer, try to do it on the other side of the computer too. The next one on the other side of the computer. That way you don't get one side of the computer torqued up real tight down. Putting screws in everywhere, except here. Won't do that just yet, but alright, so I'm putting my screws in. Not the last. The last two before you put the optical drive in. will be the weird looking ones again, so you got to change out to the small screwdriver, super small screwdriver. And hopefully you've magnetized it, because it makes it a lot easier messing with these. There. Interesting. Those I just put in, and when they stop twisting, just stop. Because they look like they're real dainty. And probably really hard to replace screws. And you don't want to strip them either. Alright, so we got those. Appears as though everything's tightened down on the other ones. And so we will put the optical drive back in. Now, the last one and the last screw. And this is the optical drive base screw port there. Again, when you're tightening, when in doubt, don't tighten too much, because having stripped out screws, especially on a laptop, is awful. And then you, of course, have your little screw hole covers if you want to put them back on. They just go right there. Just like that. Let's flip it around. See what our new 16 gigabyte and 1 terabyte SSD, that doesn't. How it works here. Alright, so that's the end of this video. Hope it helped. Hope yours goes as smoothly. It's not perfect. It's not super difficult either, but the main thing is don't get in a hurry and do not force anything. And do not over tighten screws. That's it. Till next time.